Today I'm going to talk a little bit about vibrato as this has been requested, and I'm going to just play on this nice little Yamaha Eco Deer recorder that I've got here. This is the soprano or descant recorder, and I think from my point of view that there's two main ways of looking at vibrato, and we'll look at the longer way round first, that involves doing some exercises to get your vibrato going. So a little bit of theory. If this line here, this thick line going across, is correct pitch, then what you want with your vibrato is to aim to have it going either side of pitch, just a little bit up and a little bit down, not very wide, especially on recorder it won't sound so good. Great big wide vibrato on a descant recorder, but that's the general aim, to get the raising and lowering of your pitch just slightly either side, ideally. Okay, so how do we do vibrato on a recorder? Well, we've really only got one way we can do this, and that is with breath support. Especially, I mean, descant recorder, soprano recorder is just, it's hanging on the edge of your breath in a very delicate balance, and this delicate balance is, you know, really the difference between a kind of classic school recorder type of sound and getting a really beautiful sound. So perhaps if I just show a little bit on breath control first. So if I take a little bit of a tune, let's take one of the first tunes I ever learned from Abracadabra Recorder Book 1, which was When the Saints Go Marching In. Now I'm going to play it without a great deal of breath control to demonstrate. So I'm overblowing some of the notes, and they sound a bit pushed, a bit uncool. Now I'm still going to play it in a marching style, but I'm going to control my breath more professionally. So the sound is clear rather than forced, and when we're playing more lyrically, if we pick a tune like the Skyboat song, you know, you can really use your breath control to support your phrasing, so you can go from playing note by note without a great deal of refinement in your breath control to playing something really lyrical and beautiful. So here's the less refined version, less phrasing, less breath control. And now I'm just going to change that by imagining that I'm singing as I play. I'm not a very good singer at all, but even if you're not a good singer, if you imagine you're playing, you will automatically play in a more phrased sort of way. Okay, so I mentioned the phrasing because vibrato is very much guided by how you want to phrase your piece. What you want to avoid once you've learnt vibrato is playing vibrato all the time, because this will not be good, and you will get a sort of sheepy effect to your playing, like a bleating sort of constant sound, and instead of becoming an effect that's used occasionally at the right places in the music to colour your sound, to make it more interesting, it becomes more of an irritation. Anyway, on to the exercises. So you're going to have to get your breath control quite, yeah, I think refined is probably the best word, especially on a little soprano recorder. And one way we can do that is to take a note. We can just start with a G, that's nice and easy, and just practice blowing a bit harder to get your note to go just above pitch, and blowing a bit softer to get your note to go below pitch, and then a bit harder and then a bit softer. And try this in all sorts of ways. You can try it quite slowly to start with. In fact, definitely try it slowly to start with. You can try it quite wide, just for practice. You can get used to the limits of your instrument. You can see how loud you can go before the note cracks and how quiet before it again starts to sort of fade away and crack. And then perhaps you could just look at that as being a series of little crescendos and diminuendos, and it's just to practice your breath control and breath support as well. The two go together, so good posture will always help you with your breath support. Okay, so we want the sound of your recorder to be like elastic on the end of your breath, so that it's really flexible. And then you might try this on some different notes. You could work your way up through the scale. You might want to just pick a few notes, maybe the arpeggio would be good. Maybe try some pinch notes. And when you've practiced them quite wide, try practicing them more subtly. Just sort of play about with it and see what happens. And then you can go through and you can try doing it faster. Maybe try, and if you think of these little bumps, one bump in the sound per second maybe. Or you could use a metronome and try different speeds. I didn't play the G major arpeggio there, I played G major 7, which we're going to come to a little bit later. The notes are G, B, D, F sharp, G. There's a reason for that. So this method, what you're trying to do is to just gradually increase the speed of your little hills and your little valleys until it becomes vibrato. Maybe sort of one hill and valley every half a second, and then try and get the speed a bit quicker. And that's something that you can work at as an exercise. It takes time, it takes practice. It's really good to do, because anything where you're getting your breath control more sensitive on the recorder is going to be really, really good. Now, the other way is the quick way. This is for people like me who, no matter how many breath vibrato exercises I did, couldn't get vibrato. I don't know whether it's because I'm not really a singer. It just seemed that everybody else could do vibrato and I couldn't do vibrato. Until I started to play more expressively. And the way I learned vibrato was literally, I took a phrase that was ascending, because as you know, it's nice to sort of swell through the long notes in a sustained piece. And one day, as I was kind of playing expressively, swelling through a long note, the vibrato just sort of came, because I was kind of aiming to get that to happen. So this is where we bring out our G7 chords again: G, B, D, F sharp, G. It might sound familiar to some of you, because when you play this on a treble or alto recorder, this is the beginning of Handel's Larghetto from the Sonata in C minor, when we use the same fingerings on treble, and it's C, E, G, B, C. So I'm going to play this G7 chord, and I'm going to swell through the last note and just hopefully produce a vibrato. So as I reach the top of the phrase, on the pinch G there, the long pinch G, through swelling through the note, there's a slight vibrato there. I'll play it on treble so we can hear the original notes of the piece. So I keep saying treble because it's the UK word, but of course most people are calling this alto now. When I was young, it was always a treble recorder. Needed a slightly bigger breath at the beginning of that phrase, but we got there. This is the Aulos Hacker treble, by the way. Quite like it. It's quite. You can play this one quite expressively. It takes a bit more air than a Yamaha, so you've got to remember to take a deep breath before you start. So, you know, those are the two ways to get vibrato. One, just to try and get this natural breath vibrato just to sort of start happening by playing expressively. And perhaps a good place to start to get it to happen is on the longer notes, and where you think that the vibrato sounds nice to colour the music. Not all the time. We don't want kind of the bleaty, sort of sheepy, kind of constant vibrato that can become sort of irritating to the ear. In a way, I think you're almost better off playing it with no vibrato at all. Or just tell yourself you're going to play it with no vibrato, but that you're going to play it expressively, and see if some vibrato just appears. Again, not paying attention to my breathing there. Okay, so I hope that helps, and I hope you can have a little go and an experiment around. Perhaps if in the comments below, if you give me some feedback or questions, then I can do another video if this video brought up some questions. I'm also shortly going to be releasing a website, and when that's out, I'm going to come through and edit my last few videos, and put the website address in the comments down there. And on the website, you're going to be able to book online lessons with me on Skype if you should like an online recorder lesson. So that's coming up soon. So I hope the video helped, and I'll see you next time.